Okay, here we go. I'm going to try to tackle a complicated topic. Who, humanly speaking, is ruling the world? Now, I've done a video like this before, but this time I'm going to be using pictures. And I pray that this is going to bless you and help you to understand this even better as we look at pictures together. Now, none of the pictures I'm about to show you are perfect. That's why I want to show you a picture and then talk about it a little bit. So let's get started. Who is actually ruling the world? Here is a list. This was made by, I think, David Icke. Now, David Icke is quite possibly a non-believer, but he did a very good job here. In fact, he made this list probably better than most Christians could ever imagine doing. Let's look at what David Icke says. At the very top, ruling the world, humanly speaking, he has the most powerful demonic spirits up on top who feed off of fear, death, pain, suffering, misery, and sacrifices. And boy, do I agree with him. Yes, ruling on top would be the highest level of demonic spirits who are feeding off all of the suffering. Then, next, he has the archons and other invisible matter. Remember, David Icke is what you would call a non-believer. He's not going by Bible-based teaching here. So what David is saying is next, the archons, lower level demons that are extremely powerful. You might call these demons like generals. Next, David has higher level malevolent spirits, extraterrestrials. I agree with him. Next would be lower level demons. Then below that, David has those little gray alien type spirits. I agree with him. The next level would be the lower demonic spirits. Then he has the Vatican. I agree with him. Humanly speaking, the Vatican is possibly number one as far as ruling the world. Now I'll go a little bit quicker. After the Vatican, he has the Bilderbergers, the Business Advisory Council, Council on Foreign Relations, United Nations Banking, the Federal Reserve, which is located in Europe. Then he has the United Nations, Council of 13, the Committee of 300, and secret societies. Below them, David has, you'll find corporations such as Monsanto, and the world leaders and politicians are below all of them. Okay, I think David did a decent job here. Let's take a look at another picture now. Here we have the Round Table as the most powerful organization in the world. And from the Round Table, and by the way, the Round Table just has a few men and women. It could be all men, but it could be men and women. Just a few people ruling the world. And from the Round Table up on top, we see the Council on Foreign Relations, which is run by the USA. To the left, we see the Trilateral Commission, run by the USA. Down below, the Royal Institute of International Affairs. We got the Club of Rome, we got the Bilderberg Group, and then we have the United Nations themselves, which I think I already mentioned. This picture looks pretty good. I wouldn't be surprised if this is close to the truth. Now, in this picture, they skipped the Vatican, and they skipped the Illuminati family members. So what we're seeing is we're getting a different example of men and women who are ruling the world here. Now let's go to the next picture. Here we have a different type of order. In this picture, we have the Illuminati royal bloodlines up on top. The Rothschild family, the Astor, the Bundys, the Collins, DuPonts, the Freemans, the Kennedys, the Lee, the Onassis family, the Rockefellers, the Disney family, Russell, Van Doon, Merovingian, and the Reynolds. Those are supposedly the 13 family members of the Illuminati that some people believe ruled the world. Below them, we got the foundation nations of the New World Order. America, I agree with. England, I definitely agree with. Israel, I agree with. Australia, I agree with. And if some of you are wondering, wow, Australia, I didn't know that they were so powerful. In some ways, yes, they are. And in this picture, they have China, which I'm not sure about. And below these countries, you got the financial groups, the World Banks, the Federal Reserve, the IMF. You got the research institutions, and you got the secret societies. And below them, you got the political groups. You got the intelligence groups like the MI5 and the CIA and the FBI. That's right. The secret services of the world are working for the Illuminati. They are not working for you in the USA. They take their orders from Europe. All right, let's try another picture and see if we could find a little bit more truth. Here we have a picture of Jacob Rothschild. He says his family is worth $500 trillion. I agree with that. Yes, they own most of the world. They own nearly every central bank in the world, and they have financed both sides. Think about that. Both sides of every war since Napoleon. They say that we own your news, your media, your oil, and your government. I hope this picture is starting to help you to learn a little bit better what is really going on here on planet Earth. All right, let's continue and grab another picture. Here we have a picture that states that the Illuminati is up on top. Below them are the banking and money groups. Over to the right, you got the secret societies, the Freemasons, the Skull and Bones, the Knights Templar, etc., etc. Below them, you got the political groups, the intelligence groups, you got the religious groups, and the educational groups. This picture looks pretty good. I don't think it's perfect. No, not at all, but it looks pretty good. So what we're learning here is, as we look at picture after picture, there is definitely a disagreement in who is running everything. So let's continue our study now. Let's look at this picture. In this picture, we got the Vatican, the Rothschilds, and the royal families up on top. And I agree with that. Below them, you have different families, you have different secret societies and religious groups that work for the Vatican, the Rothschilds, and the royals. And I think this picture is a little bit closer to the truth. But what we're doing is we're looking at a whole bunch of different pictures so we can try to find out with God's help what is the actual truth of what is going on here. Now let's look at another picture. In this picture, we got the Jesuits up on top, and I agree with that. The Jesuits control the Vatican. So we have the Vatican-controlled Jesuits up on top. Below them, we got the Illuminati, the Council of Foreign Relations, the international bankers, and the mafia, the criminal arm of the Vatican. That's correct. I was about to comment on the Catholic religion, but I changed my mind. Below them, we got the Club of Rome and a couple other secret societies. This picture might be a little bit closer to the truth. Let's take a look at another one now. Here we have our old president, ex-president Obama, surrounded by Roman Catholic, Jesuit-trained intelligence leaders. You see, the president of the USA is nothing more than a puppet. He is a puppet that's being controlled by much more powerful people, much more powerful organizations. And presidents cannot do anything at all in their own power or their own will, or they would be assassinated quick, real quick. Take a look at this picture here now. This is what President Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, said before he was assassinated. Kennedy said, "There's a plot in this country to enslave every man, woman, and child. Before I leave this high and noble office, I intend to expose this plot." Guess what? 7 days later, John F. Kennedy was assassinated. Are you starting to realize what I've been trying to tell you in multiple videos now? There are powerful people, powerful organizations far, far above U.S. presidents. Let's take a look at two of them. Here we have one of the ex-black popes and the current black pope now. Some people believe that the black pope is the most powerful man in the world. The black pope is the leader of the Jesuits who control the Vatican. So is the black pope the most powerful person in the world? Maybe. And the reason why I say maybe is there might be some men in Antarctica working with the Nazis and the so-called gray aliens, we know them as demons now, who might possibly be more powerful than the Vatican and the Black Pope. Possibly. So here we have two of the Black Popes, the current Black Pope, and we have Peter Hans Kolvenbach, who was the Black Pope before him. They run and rule the Jesuits. Now, The Jesuits controlled the archbishops in the United States. Here we have a picture of Archbishop Edwin Cardinal Ickes controlling both sides of the presidential nominations. Yes, even the archbishops in the USA are above the presidents. In the picture down below, we have Archbishop Timothy Cardinal Dolan controlling both sides once again in 2012. Now are you starting to understand why the presidents have been systematically destroying the USA for decades and decades now? Yes, this is why. But let's continue a little bit more. Here we have a picture of the Black Pope and some of his high-ranking officers who control the United States. The Jesuits have divided up the United States into many different sections, and the Jesuit-controlled Vatican controls and dominates the U.S. government. And that is why the United States is being systematically destroyed, with our military being cut back, drugs being brought into the United States by the secret services, child trafficking being run in the United States by the secret services, and the worldwide human trafficking, sex slave operation being run by the secret services of the world, including the United States, which are controlled by the Jesuits in the Vatican. I pray this is blessing you. Here is another picture of how the Jesuits have divided up the United States. Even a cardinal in the United States can be higher ranking than everybody in Congress, than all the senators, than all the governors, and even the president and the secretary of state. This is shocking, and I pray God is using this to really bless you here. Now let's look at another picture. Here we have the royal family up on top. Next is the crown, the Council of 13, then the Committee of 300, powerful subfamilies. Then we have all the think tanks like the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission, the Club of Rome and the Bilderberg Group. Then we got the World Financial Institutions, the IMF, the central banks, the IRS, the Internal Tax Services. Then we got the World Resource Control groups like the gas stations, Chevron, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Arco, Shell, Texaco. And then below that, we have the World Population Control, how they're using religions to control the populations, how they use government and secret services to control the population. You see, most of you in the United States thought that the FBI, CIA, and NSA were working for you to protect you. Nothing could be farther from the truth. They are hurting you and your children and destroying you and systematically destroying our country. That's what they're doing. You have the educational services and you have the media. All of this is controlled by the groups up above them. Down on the bottom, that's where we're located. We're slaves to debt. All right, let's continue and grab another picture. Let's see. Did you know that there are facts coming out that not only was Hitler actually Jewish, but that he's actually related to the Rothschilds? That's correct. It is the same family partially ruling the world for decade after decade after decade. And it seems like Hitler was even one of them, which is one of the well-kept secrets on planet Earth. Now look at this picture. Here we have George W. Bush in the middle, and we have a group of people that he's related to. Let's take a look at some of them. He's related to Dracula, Vlad the Impaler. He's related to Senator John Kerry. He's related to Hugh Hefner of Playboy. He's related to Abraham Lincoln, who was assassinated. He's related to Dick Cheney, who orchestrated the 9/11 attacks on his own country, killing his own people. He's related to President Obama, Brad Pitt, Marilyn Monroe, Madonna, Princess Diana, and Celine Dion. Are you starting to see now that there is so much more going on here on earth than any child of God has ever imagined or could ever dream of? Okay, let's continue now. Here is a picture of some of the corporations that are owned by the Vatican or the Illuminati, etc., etc. Taco Bell, Blockbuster Videos, Fox, Walmart, Warner Brothers, Virgin, MasterCard, Jack in the Box, the Dallas Cowboys, ABC, NBC, CBS, Chevron, Pennzoil, Valvoline. Do you notice the oil companies? Sunoco, Discover Credit Card. I'm not going to mention them all. Are you learning? Are you starting to see how this has been going on for decades and decades and decades? So, let's try to make this a little simple to understand. This is my opinion, what is actually happening here. Up on the very top, humanly speaking, I'm not talking about God. Up on the top, we have the highest of highest ranking demonic spirits who feed on fear, death, pain, suffering, misery, and sacrifices. Below them, we got the demonic generals. Below them, the demonic princes. Then below them, you'll have high-ranking demonic spirits, etc., etc. Now, let's go to human beings. Next, in Garrett's opinion, we're going to have the Jesuit-controlled Vatican Roman Catholic Church. It is said that the Vatican is the richest organization in the world. I wouldn't be surprised if the Vatican had thousands of trillions of dollars. In my opinion, after the Vatican, the Jesuits-controlled Vatican, we're going to have the leaders out of Antarctica ruling the world also. And the leaders out of Antarctica, here, let me show you some of their toys. Here we have the top secret United States TR-3B spaceship. And here is another picture of the TR-3B out in space. And here are some more pictures of it, with the spaceship technology most likely being based out of Antarctica, up on the moon, and possibly in the ocean. And here is a beautiful picture of a TR-3B spaceship. And here are some of their other spaceships also, if you take a look at some of these pictures. Now, after the Jesuit-controlled Vatican and whoever or whatever is out in Antarctica, I think I'm going to go with the round table next. After the round table, in my opinion, I'm going to go with the Illuminati family members. And by the way, I forgot the royal family, the Queen. I forgot the royal family. So I'm going to go with the Jesuit-controlled Vatican and the leaders out of Antarctica working with their gray aliens. Then I'm going to go with the royal family and then the Illuminati family members. After them, I'm going to go with the round table. And then after the round table, it's going to be all of those think tanks, the Bilderbergers and the different think tanks that have been set up, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Club of Rome. After the think tanks, you're going to have the entire banking mess being run out of Europe. The whole banking mess, the governments, you're going to have the educational systems and the religions, and also the religions are being used to control the world. And these Jesuit leaders, these Nazis out of Antarctica, the Nazis up on the moon, they have toys. And they have toys to where they can colonize other planets, other moons. And in my opinion, they are out in space, colonizing space. And I wouldn't be surprised if they are out in deep space. Now, as I say goodbye, I have purposely bypassed the angels. I bypassed God's Son, Jesus Christ. And I bypassed God himself. This video is a picture study of what is going on here on earth, humanly speaking. All right, praise God for the grace to do this video, and I hope you really enjoyed it. Amen.